wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Welcome everybody to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a sunny and warm Thursday. Let's get straight to our program. This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of my favorite little things in Islam. And I've always, you know, when I first ever went to a Muslim event, I must have been 12 years old. And honestly, we were not into this. We were not a family that prayed, we fasted. That was it. And we prayed Eid. And we had the Quran up on the wall, and we had a bust of Nefertiti on the other side. So we were just like regular Egyptians. We didn't know any of this stuff. Then I started noticing my parents are now going to these different places, these Masjid. And I'm like, this is not polished. This place is, you know, little, what do they used to call it? Leaky roof masjid. Little mosque with a leaky ceiling. Then one time they took me to a conference, and that's really what was impressive to me. They took me to a conference. I think it was the old MYCA conference in Oklahoma. Like, man, we're going to Oklahoma? There's Muslims in Oklahoma? 1992, MYCA conference in Oklahoma. We get there, and this is my first time in a Muslim event. And I'm like, wow, look at all these people. They're like me. If you grew up, when I grew up, in the 80s, in a small town, you didn't see diversity. There was no such thing as diversity. It wasn't even a word to be said. It wasn't a thing to be celebrated either. It's not like it was, you know, something that they gave attention to. So to see all these other people, now I'm starting to learn their habits are saying different words, and you're learning your way and just observing a lot. Now, when I walked into the bazaar, that was the funnest place because they're buying and selling all these things, and I saw a bunch of sticks on a table. I thought to myself, oh man, what are we into here? Like, what's going on? Why is this dude selling sticks? And the idea that you're going to brush your teeth with a stick, it was so foreign to me. It was such a crazy idea. I'm like, come on, guys. What are we doing here? Okay? What are we actually doing here? Why are we brushing our teeth with a stick? And then I go and I go to play football. And some of the guys in the conference would go out to this field and play football. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with these guys. And I saw some cool guys there, right? Guys with starter jackets, right? The yellow Sony Walkman, Jordans. And I thought, well, were they Jordans? Because it was like 92, 93. So, yeah, there were Jordans back then. I thought, man, these some cool dudes here. And then I see one of them pull out a Miswak. And he starts brushing his teeth right in the middle of the game. Like, we're playing and, you know, we're all in the field. And, you know, like how a Muslim would do it, it's like in the middle of daily life. This dude pulls out a Miswak and is brushing his teeth in the middle of whatever we're doing. Before this, you never see anyone brushing their teeth you never see anyone brushing their teeth. It's only in the bathroom. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, I'm going to get one. Because that's the power of the group. It's the power of the group. You see people who, in your eyes, are cooler than you. And they were all older. I was like one of the youngest ones. And these were like 13, 14, 15-year-old guys playing football. And they all seemed to know each other. I didn't know anybody. And I was like new and younger. But you find someone that you think is, in your eyes, he's cool. And he pulls out a Miswak. So then I go and say, you know what? Maybe I'll get one. Now, once you buy that Miswak, you literally have made a commitment to Islam without knowing it. It's a step in that direction. Because no one ever does this except because the Prophet told us to do it. Now, there may come a day in which scientists say, oh, it has this property, that property. Well, guess what they're going to do? The pharmaceutical going to extract that active ingredient that they think is an active ingredient. And they're going to make like a paste out of it or a special brush, and it will cease to be a Miswak. Because that's where the money's going to be, right? And the atheist types, they're not going to want people getting a miswak and saying Muhammad was right. So it will always be, in my opinion, like a symbol of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Now think about this. If this was a Marxist conference or a socialist conference or some philosophical nonsense, and a 12-year-old shows up, there's no tactile like step in that direction in such a conference, unless he gets a pin or a t-shirt, right? And they try to create these things, a pin or a t-shirt or something like that. But what I noticed in Islam, there's a lot of tactile means you can touch it. And when you're a young kid, that's how you learn. It's something I could see, I could touch. And not only that, and some of you were asking why we started early, because we got an engagement at 2 o'clock. So that's why we started early. But even regular people need tactile. You need tactile things, right? Suhaib, tafaddal. And Suhaib, tafaddali. Assalamu alaikum. Bring your mom next to you on the comfortable couch. Just fix up those sofas real quick and make sure you push the sofa back and make it all comfortable. Are you engaged, by the way?
Not yet.
I have someone for you. What do you mean? Not yet? You mean you have someone you're talking to somebody?
No.
Okay. Because I have someone for you.
I'll take up on it.
Okay, good. Tafaddali. You can sit on a chair or... Okay. So you see, even if you're a regular person and you think you're an intellectual, you need something tactile. Human nature. Allah made us this way. And I noticed in Islam, there's a lot of tactile stuff. And I started going to these different conferences. Now, the next bizarro thing in my mind that I discovered was the khuf. And I saw these guys down in Asbury Park. There was a masjid there. It was like a Masjid Ahl Sunnah or something like that. Or Masjid al-Bayan, I think it was. And we went there for a conference. Imam Zaid spoke there. Siraj Wahaj spoke there. It was a fundraiser in a hotel. And these really big African-American dudes. And I'm like, whoa, there's African-Americans who are Muslim? I didn't even know this. Because the first conference we went to was all Arabs. This time, like Americans, African-Americans, Muslims, right? The word African-American wasn't even a thing. You just said black. In the 80s, it wasn't even a thing. Early 90s, you just said black. I'm like, whoa, who are these dudes? And these guys are wearing thobes. And I'm thinking to myself, that thobe is a bit short, though, right? Right? And these got Air Maxes. And I'm like, what kind of combination is this? I know Air Max, but I didn't know, why would anyone wear a thobe unless you're some old man from Egypt? But these guys are wearing thobes. I'm like, an American, African, a black dude wearing a jalabiyah? And now you start seeing, hold on, Islam is not just for your little ethnic group. It's all over the place. And they had miswaks. All right, I'm down. I already know the miswak. But now these guys are praying in the row. And I'm looking at these socks. And I've never seen anything like this before. He's got a khuf with a zipper. And I'm like, how does that fit in your shoe? And I'm thinking, there's always something new with these people. So I inquire, I ask around, I look around, and they say, oh, you make wudu. I don't even know if I knew how to make wudu. When my mom would say, wash your face and your nose. I wash my nose on the outside, right? And I'm like, why would I want to wash my face? I just did this, touch my nose, right? Arms, touch my arms. And I'm like, man, I can't do this 4 or 5 times a day. Let's be reasonable here. This is like a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, never grew up in Islam, just grew up in Egyptian culture. Right? We fast and we pray Eid. And if you have an exam, you pray 2 rakas. If you have a test. That's how we grew up, right? And the whole masjid culture was, we were all doctors, and we hung out with the Lebanese doctors and Fattoush, and that was our culture. The Lebanese and the Egyptian Arab music and even Arab dancing, right? All the things they would dance. That's what they would do. And we would play basketball outside and talk about the NBA and stuff. And the girls would do their thing, and there was no real thing like not mixing. The girls will come and hang out with the boys, play basketball. The boys would go bother the girls a little bit. All Arabs and Egyptians and Lebanese. That was the community and the vibe. Now you're plugging someone in. And the reason I'm telling all this story, because a lot of new Muslims can relate to this stuff. And it's not that new Muslims are the only people to adapt. Even a regular Muslim could be totally born outside of Islamic culture and discover things like a wooden toothstick. And now I'm thinking like, okay, you wipe over it before you, I don't even know. But after a while, again, you saw these dudes, and these are pretty cool guys. They got Air Max. These guys are wearing the latest Nike Air Maxes, right? Just like, okay, that's pretty cool too. So eventually I got myself a khuf. Now I'm all into the stuff. But that's what the mind of a kid is, because you have to meet someone at their level. The mind of a kid is not in the abstractions, like does God exist, does the prophet exist? You're not thinking about that. You're just thinking, oh, this stuff is pretty cool. These conferences are cool because they see all these other neat people. Sometime later, the beads. Right? The beads. And I'm like, these are cool too. So now you got paraphernalia. And now you have listening stuff too, because now you go to a table and he's got a reciter. You go to another table, you know, selling books, and he's got another reciter. And now you're picking reciters. The question of should I listen to Quran is like this, you know, the idea of selling beyond the sale. When the salesman says to you, hey, you want the red Volkswagen or the black Volkswagen? And you're like, I think the red one. But wait, he didn't even ask you if you want a Volkswagen. Islam always sells you beyond the sale. It's not even asking if you want to listen to Quran. The question now comes up of which reciter do you like best? And then you got camps. I'm with Sudais. I'm with Muhammad Jibreel. I'm the old school Abdul Basit. Now I'm really old school Mustafa Ismail. I'm like proper Tajweed Husari, right? Different groups. And then the guys chit-chatting, and in the middle of talking nonsense, someone talks like that. And that conversation is like 60 seconds, but it sticks in your head. Shoot, well, who am I? Am I Sudais? Am I Muhammad Jibreel? Am I Abdul Basit? I gotta figure this out, right? Now you go to your dad and you say, where are the tapes? Because back in the old days, it was tapes. You had to get tapes. And you went to your friend's house. Think about this. If I didn't know Sudais, and I keep hearing, and I like the name. That's why I went with Sudais. You know, back in my day, I just liked the name. So I waited about 2 weeks to go to my friend's house, because they lived further away, 30 minutes away. To go to my friend's house with an empty cassette tape, which my dad had to go buy me from a store, and go to his house and record it. Today, you don't even wait 2 seconds before you want something. That's why the value of things is down. It's just it. That's it. Just it's on YouTube. But at that time, I'm thinking, oh, I need a Sudais tape, right? Because that was like a flex, as you guys would call it, right? It was like a cool thing that I got this tape. Now, I had all the old school tapes. My dad had the old school tapes. Abdul Basit, Mustafa Ismail. I think his name is Muhammad Rifat, the early one, the Egyptian Adhan. So then I'm thinking to myself, for 2 weeks, is the next time I'm going to see him is in 2 weeks. I'm going to go and get that recording. And we went to his house, and then we get the recording. You put one cassette tape in, you put the other cassette tape in the cassette thing he has, people don't even know what this looks like anymore. It's a cassette player with 2 parts. You put the main one in, you put the recording one in, the empty one, you hit play record. It's play and record. And then, now you better not screw it up, because if you swap it, you erase, right? So it plays and it records. So if it's a 60-minute tape, it took 60 minutes. And then and then if you had a good tape player, it had auto flip. It flipped by itself. If you had an older fashioned tape player, pull up these cassette tape players, because these Gen Zs, they don't even know what we're talking about. Okay. They don't even, they wouldn't flip by itself. So you had to go do what you're going to do, come back in 30 minutes and flip the tapes yourself, and then hit play record again. The dual cassette, to record. Yeah, the 2 slots. 2-slot cassette tape player. Yeah. Yeah, they see that one with the pink and the blue label down? Yeah, that one with the pink and blue label. Yeah, that one. That's what they looked like back in the old days. You see that? Why would they even sell this now? Is this like selling it for Hollywood, for making movies that... And this one has a CD player, so that's way beyond, right? You'll probably find this stuff, Hollywood sets have all this old stuff. Because when they set a movie in, like, this is a movie set in 1993 or something, 92 or something like that. No, the CDs hadn't even come out yet. No such thing as CDs. Okay. So the tactile stuff makes Islam sticky. And I thought to myself, like, I'm a young 12, 13, and I'm like all into this thing. And I never thought once of any higher order questions. It's just like, all right, which reciter, okay, was cooler? His name was cooler. His style was cooler. His voice was cooler. All right. And then the Miswak. And then you pulled it out because kids show off all the time. Okay. Unless someone's taught that stuff, everyone shows off. You get new sneakers. You don't think, oh, shoot, my friend might be poor. You don't think like that. You got new Air Maxes. You show up with the Air Maxes. Right? If you're wearing shoes from Payless Shoes, that's on you. That's your problem. You never think about that. You're just a kid. So now you got a bunch of people, a new generation of kids who are now comparing reciters, pulling out miswaks, right? And using khuf. And I remember one kid was such a show off, and he had his way about him. He'd come in with something new and he wouldn't say anything. But he'll pull on the khuf, and he was such a show off. And he wouldn't say anything. Right? And if you asked him, he was the leader. Right? But I hated him too at the same time, because his character was actually bad. I actually loved and hated him because he was older than us, and he was a leader type that enticed you almost by a type of, so like someone say, hey, what's that? He's like, it's a khuf, obviously. Right? And we're like, what the heck is a khuf? Right? Yo, you know what a khuf is? Yo, what is he doing? And he would sort of leave you like that. He knows you don't know, right? He wasn't a caring, nice friend, right? He was a type of off-putting bully type, but Allah made him love Islam, and that led the whole group to Islam, right? Although we sort of loved and hated him at the same time. He'd be like, it's a khuf. He wouldn't tell you anything about it. And then he'd drop all the time. He'd name drop. You know, the group that we grew up with was Egyptians in the south, okay? Palestinians in the north, and in the middle was a little pocket of converts, which is our masjid today, Masjid al-Huda, founded by Imam Zaid. And he would say stuff like, oh, I'm going to Masjid al-Huda for a talk. And we'd be like, oh, well, tell us about it. No, don't worry about it. Right? And he'd just leave you on a cliffhanger like that. Now I'm going crazy. I got to go too. You know that we went to Shaykh Nuh Kellers' very first talk in the United States. His very first pit stop, when he came to the tour for the Reliance of the Traveler, the very first place he came to talk was Masjid al-Huda. And I attended that because I was following this guy around, and all of us, he was a little older than us, so we would go to his house, hang out, and then he would take us to these places. And his older brothers would drive and all that stuff. So I went to that talk and did not understand a word. The subject, why follow a madhab when we have the Quran and the Sunnah, did not understand a single word he was saying. But I was just like, what in the world? The guy's got blonde hair. He's a sheikh with blonde hair. How is this happening? Right? A sheikh is a Palestinian, a Saudi, or an Egyptian. That's what we understood. Now, the cross-cultural part in Islam, it's also amazing because it keeps your mind busy. And then as we started going to Masjid, eventually our local masjid was like 60% Pakistani, right? And that was a whole nother trip, right? That was a whole nother thing. And they came with henna on the fingernails, and they went up to I remember this very, very vividly. And from my youth, I've had this like ability to forecast things, okay? just on little signs. And it was Taraweeh and a little leaky ceiling, leaky roof masjid, whatever they call them. Little type of rented out space as a masjid. Half Desi, Pakistani, half Egyptians. Now, in the between rakas, you went and you got tea. Everyone got tea and some donuts or munchkins or whatever. And the Egyptians would bring like the sweets that they made at home, and the Desis would bring the sweets they made at home. So the tea container that has the tea in it, a Pakistani guy, he commits a heinous crime in Arab culture. The guy takes the big tea samovar, picks it up, takes the half and half, and boom, pours it right into the tea thingy. And I'm like, what did you just do? You murdered the tea. That's how the Turks say it. You literally, we don't drink like that at night. Tea with milk is only in the morning. Dark red tea is what every Egyptian needs at night. He never mixes his milk with the tea at night. That much I knew. This community is not going to last. I knew it. And it didn't, right? I knew from that little sign, this is not going to last. There's no way my dad and the other Egyptians will coexist with such a human being who does such an insane act as taking the tea and putting it in. This is all a little history lesson for people want to know what was Islam like in 1990, 91, 92, right? And of course, 3-4 years later, they broke up. Obviously not over the tea, but over other issues, which I didn't understand at the time. So now, whoever was cutting this video, we can fast forward to what did the Prophet say about this beloved stick, the Miswak? First of all, what is it? The Miswak is a branch or a root of a tree. It's like a twig that comes from certain trees. The arak tree or the olive tree or really any tree in whatever culture, whatever they got. Okay, everyone's got different types. Puerto Ricans have this, by the way. And they use the licorice tree. They brush their teeth with licorice twigs. And I have one. It's huge. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك مع كل صلاة. If it was not to burden my nation, I would have commanded them. You must brush your teeth with the miswak every time you pray. The 5 prayers. Can you imagine a nation that brushes teeth 5 times a day? Right? How good will their teeth be? Okay. السواك قال صلى الله عليه وسلم عن عائشة. Of course, عن حرف جر, but عائشة is ممنوع من الصرف, therefore it's مجرور بالفتحة. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال السواك مطهرة للفم مرضاة للرب. The miswak is a purification of the mouth and pleasing to the Lord. Allah loves the miswak. There's certain things people don't understand that God loves. And he loves the turbans too. Every prophet wore turbans. You know that? And people sometimes tell me, hey, listen, you got a great message for Western audience. Why you got to wear the turban? Ditch the turban so the Western people can relate to you. I said, you know what? The American thing is to do whatever you want. That's actually the American, not to conform, right? I get their ideas, right? I get what they're saying. But how do you know? You can set a trend, right? And it's not you trying to set a trend, but the black turban is the best, honestly. And the Prophet, we read hadiths, the Prophet wore the, how do you know in the future you're not going to see everyone wearing black turbans, right? Fatah Mecca was in a black turban. The Prophet always wore, a lot of times wore a black turban. And hey, a lot of guys, they probably look better covering their head than without, right? A guy said to me one time, he talked about hijab. He said, well, why doesn't a man have to wear hijab? I said, listen, a woman, are we going to play games here? A woman's beauty is in her hair, okay? A man is lucky to have hair, right? When you see a man, nobody said, wow, his hair is beautiful. No, when you see a guy, so mashallah, he makes money, he's fit, and he has hair. He has hair. That's sufficient for him, right? It's never beautiful. Rarely. Fabio, that's it, right? People don't even know who Fabio is, but this dude, this guy had hair like the cover of a Nancy Roberts like love book. You know those love books? those romantic novels. He looked like a romantic novel cover piece. He's an Italian dude. But anyway, it's obviously the beauty of a woman is in her hair. The beauty of a man is not in his hair. He's lucky to have hair, period. Okay? And in a society that has turbans, at least we level the playing fields, right? You sort of level it. Hijab levels the playing fields. Now, of course, the white turban is the best. Jummah, Eid, weddings. There's no question that the Prophet loved the white turban is the best. Now, for everyday use, black turban, because white can get dirty, right? So I love black. Anyway, the black turban is going to spread. Mark my word. The black turban, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, because it's so catchy. Everyone loves it. And the Western person, honestly, has seen very much. I mean, the latest shooter, his girlfriend is now coming out as a furry. She wears a rabbit head. Well, like, why are they confident? Right? They're not trying to conform. And the whole society conforms to them. Right? Oh, we got to be careful. Because the furries are going to be upset. When you are mentally, you have issues. I'm not blaming you, but at some point, we shouldn't help you with your issues. We should say, truth of the matter is, you have issues, okay? Helping you play make-believe is not helping you, okay? So, second hadith says, the miswak is purifying for the mouth and pleasing to the Lord. If I use Oral-B and toothpaste, did I fulfill miswak? And the answer is yes, but you fulfilled it, but not to the most complete level. You didn't perfect it. You fulfilled it, but you didn't perfect it. There is a beautiful breakdown in Islamic law and analysis where they say you fulfilled it, but you didn't perfect it. Just like witr, if I pray witr 1 rak'ah, I fulfilled it, but I didn't perfect it. How do I perfect it? 2, then 1. Okay, 2, salam out, then 1. So using what the Prophet used, you fulfilled it and perfected it. You see the difference? Because it is ultimately a function of cleaning the mouth. That is the purpose. It's not a mystery. We do know what the purpose is. But to do things as the Prophet, with the tool the Prophet used, you perfect it now. Third hadith is also from Sayyida Aisha. Inna min ni'amillahi alayya anna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tuwuffiya fi bayti. Sayyida Aisha says, from the blessings of Allah upon me, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away and was taken back to Allah in my house. Wa fi yawmi, on the day that he would have been visiting me, because he had multiple wives and he visited them. Okay. Wa bayna sahri wa nahri, meaning on my lap. His head was on my lap. Wa anna Allah jama'a bayna riqi wa riqihi 'inda mawtih. And at the moment he died, my saliva and his saliva were mingled. دخل علي عبد الرحمن وبيده السواك. Her brother entered upon her, and he was brushing his teeth. Yeah, or he wasn't brushing his teeth. He had in his hand a siwak. وأنا مسندة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet was laying on my lap. فرأيته ينظر إلي, and I saw the messenger looking at my brother's toothstick. وعرفت أنه يحب السواك. So I knew he wanted it. فقلت أخذه لك. Should I take it for you, O Messenger of Allah? He nodded yes. فأشار برأسي. And now, even when the Prophet was dying, he was about to meet his Lord, he wants to have a clean mouth. How? When your soul is different from your body, but we don't separate really. The feeling of the soul is connected to the body. So when you are clean, you feel better. Okay, so the body affects the soul. There's no doubt about that. It affects the soul. فَتَنَاوَلْتُهُ فَاشْتَدَّ عَلَيْهِ. I gave it to the Prophet, peace be upon him. But it was hard. Why? Because you see this end of this, the toothstick? Let me put it against the black background. Here. It's hard. You have to take this part out and you have to loosen it. Okay, that's what she meant. اشتد علي. قلت ألينه لك. Should I soften it for you? He nodded yes. Okay, so then I softened it with my mouth. You soften it up with my mouth. Then I gave it to him. Okay, And then he used it. And then right then and there, the angel Jibreel asked the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have an offer from your Lord. You can stay and live with your nation until the end of time. Or you can go to the greatest friend, the highest friend, the Rafiq al-A'la. The Prophet ﷺ then said, Bal al-Rafiq al-A'la, Bal al-Rafiq al-A'la. No, the highest friend, the highest friend. Okay. And he returned back to Allah. So at that moment that he died, that their saliva was mixed. وأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا دخل بيته بدأ بالسواك. Every time the Prophet entered his house, he used the miswak. Because you're going to offend your family like that. So before Salah, because you're going to go to the community and pray, and you're going to be in front of Allah. And before you enter to your family. Okay. Ashrun min al-fitra. Again, look at how many are these narrated by Sayyidah Aisha. So, brothers and sisters, the first hadith was Abu Huraira. The second hadith was Aisha. The third hadith is Aisha. The fourth hadith is Aisha. The fifth hadith is Aisha. Ayyuha Shia, I don't want to see a miswak in your hands. No miswak for you. No brushing teeth. Bad breath for you. Okay. How are you going to use the miswak when... I'm just joking here because there could have been others hadiths from elsewhere. Okay. وعن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت. Okay. And just for so nobody says we're being sectarian, if Muslims take political action, they should do it together. That's Sunnis and Shiites. Because the enemies of Islam could not care less whether you're Sunni or Shia. Right? So if we're taking political action in the world, we should do it together. And if we're talking in the deen, you can go do your thing, and I'll do my thing, and the liberal Muslim can do his thing. Okay? And we all know that we're not going to intersect in that matter, but in the worldly matters, okay, that when we are front-facing the rest of the world, we should do it together. Okay? What else did Sayyidah Aisha say? Ashrun min al-fitr. There are 10 things that the human being naturally is predisposed to desire. I'm telling you, I've said it earlier, dawah, I can boil it down to 2 things. Dawah, having a good impression. Our dawah should be 2 things. Obsession with cleanliness. You got to be clean. Omar Abbasi, who was the Hanafi authority who said, I'm shocked at a person who grows his beard too long and he has intellect. So the beard's got to be fist length, max. That's the max. In the Maliki and I think the Hanafi opinion. Omar, who? You remember, he's one of the big authorities of the Hanafi school. And the Malikis don't allow it more than a fist length. Fist length is perfect. That's what Abdullah bin Omar did. If you can do fist length, do fist length. Clean from the sides, though. Clean from the bottom, though. And then fist length from the front. To be clean. The mustache got to be clean. So let's see what the Prophet ﷺ says. I said the 2 things. The second thing, fairness. Fairness and generosity in money. Because money, it's like the actual reality of your faith is in money. That's where we're going to see where the rubber hits the road. In money. Are you fair when it comes to finances? Are you always trying to have a gotcha moment with the people you deal with? That's number 1. Number 2, are you generous? Like, we got amazing masajid. American Muslims are extremely wealthy. Very wealthy. Every single masjid has to have a soup kitchen. You know, ICJ down the street, they have a soup kitchen. They don't cook there. They give out the food. They go to the pantry. They go to the federal government. They give away food. They go scoop it up and they give it out. We have a soup kitchen here. That's how it's supposed to be. MCGP has a van. I mean, they did something. So each one of us has actually covered a different thing. We give out cooked food and some clothes. ICJ gives out, I think they give out cooked food and they give out like bags. No, not cooked food, but perishables like milk, but also like grains and rice and sugar and like bags. Each bag is worth a lot. Even middle-class people who are struggling, they come to ICJ, they come in, right? And they take the food and go. This is how it's supposed to be. MCGP, though, has a van. You see that all 3 different ways. That's amazing. I just thought about that right now. They got a gorgeous van that says MCGP on it, and they drive around, and they give out the food that way. Okay. So there are 10 things. Number one, you got to trim your mustache. By nature, the long mustache is ugly. You got to have a beard. Okay? إعفاء اللحية. You got to use your miswak. You got to brush your teeth. Every society, just by fitra, you got to brush your teeth. واستنشاق الماء. Putting water in the front of your nose and snuffing it out. So cleaning your nose. قص الأظفار. Clip your nails. You want to see a misguided people. They won't do one of these things. Like pagans have long nails, and Satanists, they're dirty. And different crazy ideas result in crazy images. Okay? Like, where are people who are clean? No tattoos, no weirdo piercings. Okay? Men don't wear jewelry. Like, just be straight. This is something that we should be proud of. Okay? قص الأظفار. Clip your nails. Every Friday morning, you got to clip your nails. And you start with your shahada finger, and then you do the rest. And you got to clip your toenails too. غسل البراجم. I can't remember this word. Yeah, Omaru, look up the barajim. Yeah, look that up, please. Natful ibti. Remove armpit hairs. Plucking them, preferably to pluck them, or anything. Okay. Cleaning out your joints. I mean, this is some serious cleanliness. Cleaning out your joints. Removing armpit hairs. Armpit hair is a terrible thing to have. It's an embarrassment too for your whole family. You're out in the summer and you're all wet. You never look at that kid the same. Your dad's a mess, subhanAllah. Your dad is a mess. Okay, it's nasty. Okay, the hasad that your wife got is gone. No one's given hasad. Remove the hair from your underarm every Friday morning. Okay, shave it. Halqul ana. You have to shave your pubic hairs every Friday morning. This is the grooming of a Muslim, happens every Friday morning. Okay. وانتقاص الماء. Don't waste water in all this. So the Prophet's teaching us all the things of cleanliness. Don't waste water. And I always say, when you use water, it shouldn't come out white. And I shouldn't hear it from 3 rooms away. The water should come out clear. So if you turn the tap too much, it comes out white because of bubbles now, right? It could come out clear. And it should be, I shouldn't hear it. This is all you need to make wudu. This is just about the size of a mud, maybe even less. A mud. Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with a mud. And he'd wash his whole body with 4 of these. Asah. You want to learn Islamic measurements? Find me out how much is a mud. How many... About 0.75 liters. Okay. Okay, so 0.75 liters. How many ounces? Can you tell me how many ounces? 16 ounces, right? Just about 16 ounces. For 0.75 liters? Yeah. Like a Poland Spring bottle. Like this, basically. A Poland Spring bottle or this. You should make wudu with that. Nothing more. More than nothing. And you can wash your whole body with 4 of those. Okay? You know our showers are pretty waste of money. Okay? All right, so waste of water, waste of money. Prophet ﷺ said, if you're at the ocean, don't waste water. So therefore, the wasting of water is not because of lack. It's not because of waste only. It's the ethic of it. So when you use this miswak, you will just feel your teeth getting whiter. And the Malikis have an opinion. They said the miswak is to be used in private. It's not from the adab of a Muslim. Wherever he's going, he's brushing his teeth, wherever he is. That's not from the adab. So if it crossed your mind, hold on a second. So why am I going to be Muslim now? I'm going to be brushing my teeth in front of everybody. So they answered that question. I like to tell people, all humans, I think, pretty much, they're very similar in certain core fundamental things. Okay? Don't think we're not the only people who have a brain. We're not the only people who think and have feelings. So the Muslims covered this too. Imam Malik, he said, it's not becoming for a Muslim to be brushing his teeth in front of everybody like this. You do it when you make wudu. Okay? When you make wudu. But the Shafi'is say, you do it right before you say Allahu Akbar in Salah. Okay? Okay. Every time you open and recite the Quran, use the Miswak. If a lot of time passes, use the Miswak. If you just ate, use the Miswak. So these things, the Miswak will last you, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. You got to cut it. It should be this length, by the way. It should be this length. Between your, there we go. It should be between your pinky and your thumb. And you hold it with 3 fingers like this. That's how the Prophet used to hold it. Okay. And he'd only use it for a couple days. Then you have to shorten it, because you can't use a old miswak. You got to shorten it. And then after a week or 2, you throw it out. It gets too small, you throw it out. So miswaks are a constant thing that you're always buying. On top of that, you're going to lose it. I know people try to find these hacks where they'll never lose their miswak. They never work. I got one in the studio. I got one in the car. I got one on my nightstand. The thing is 50 cents, right? How much is a miswak? Like 20 cents?
Like a 6-pack for $8 off Amazon?
Yeah, you go to the halal butcher, right? And you throw some into the, when you're checking out, and that'll last you a month or 2. But you got to have a miswak. Actually, I have to make sure if my kids have a miswak. No, if you don't have a miswak, don't come home tonight. Do you carry miswaks? Get a miswak or do not come home. You gotta. All right, we have a special guest today.
What's up, doctor?
Yes, what's up, and who are you?
It's me, Tony, with Tommy.
Tony, okay, you need to go in?
Yeah, please, nothing's open.
I'm going to text you, okay? I'll text you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Tony. Okay. Notice Robert said good for the mouth. That means the gums. Good for the mouth. Swing by. Okay. Let me just give this guy the information. يا توني جاي عشان يصلح البتاع سو البسي اشرب. Special guest. I'd like to introduce a special initiative which I was going to be part of, but I was double booked for the Pearls of Quran conference in Maryland. But on that same weekend, a unique, never seen before, never done before. I guess that makes you an innovator. Never done before event for a Muslim Youth Center of America. It's a youth center. They will be renting out the NBA Hall of Fame for their opening event and fundraiser. And they will be having a tour of the Hall of Fame for those who buy the tickets. And they will be actually doing the fundraiser on the main court of the Hall of Fame, and the imams will face off with each other. I was going to be part of it. You know that? And you know what my position was? No. Mike Breen. I was going to be the Mike Breen of the event, broadcasting the event. Yeah, I was going to be the broadcaster. But unfortunately, and let's bring our guest on. His name is Khairul, okay? And he's a former D1 point guard. Okay? Point guard or shooting guard?
You can say point guard.
He was like the Chris Paul, okay? He was CP3, but I'm going to say CB3 because you're Bengali, right? Okay. He was a CB3 of UConn, believe it or not. UConn is not playing games. When you talk basketball,
It was very short-lived, but we'll go into
matter.
that. Inshallah.
Nobody knows. But you were on UConn. This dude is a point guard at UConn who has won multiple titles against Villanova. They beat so many teams, right? And they won the NCAA tournament multiple times. UConn is up there with Duke, Gonzaga, Kansas, Kentucky is the name UConn. If you don't, for the British, they don't know any of that stuff, but NCAA tournament is the big deal. What you say?
Their women's team always like wins it too.
Their women team has won the last, they always sweep. Them in Tennessee, right?
There's no point of talking about them, honestly. Like 99, like imagine the collegiate basketball scores 99 to like 10, right?
They're like the New England Patriots, the old New England Patriots of women's basketball.
If you open that can of worms up, then we got to talk about the ball and inflation and deflation, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
but alhamdulillah.
Are you a New Yorker or are you from Connecticut?
I'm originally a New Yorker, but most of my life I spent in Connecticut.
You're
And then
from
I was
Queens.
in BA, Astoria. Yes.
Okay.
Do I still get to speak or?
No,
'Cause,
you still get to speak. You get to speak more now. Because Omar is from Queens, too.
Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. There's an issue though. I came on and you were talking about Miswak, and
Yep.
I was wondering if my teeth they're white enough for this show.
They are white enough, actually.
I don't actually have one at the moment, so I was just checking with Omar if you guys are okay with that or not.
I mean, this time we'll get a pass.
All right, we're good.
This time you get a pass.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair, barakallah feek.
So tell us the origin. Firstly, tell us about yourself. You're out of Queens. You're a baller. You end up being recruited for D1 basketball and making the team. Tell us your whole story.
Yeah, I was actually going to start off a very interesting narrative, and I wasn't going to mention who the young boy in my story was until at the end and say, hey, that was me. But jazakallah khair for that. So maybe I'll start with now and then I'll back up. At the moment, I work as a cybersecurity analyst supporting the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission as a professional in my day job. And so I also have, I founded a Muslim youth life coaching company. It's called Dawalicious. And one of our main things, we have an academy in there. And one of the main things we do is we highlight the clear Quran and Sirah for kids. I'm a part of that project with Dr. Mustafa Khattab. It's one of the newest translations of the Quran. I'm sure most of the people know. He's done an amazing job. And the thing about that is I do believe, before we get into this, I don't want to go off tangent, but I think we have a major problem in the West with Muslim English speaking folks who, if you were to ask, maybe I've done anecdotal studies, but I haven't done actual studies, but if you were to ask your friends and families within your own circles and ask them if you have finished the Quran in English from A to Z, most of them would say they haven't. I've asked my Imam friends this question with their spouses and their children. I've asked my own sisters and family, some of them PhD holders. And so we believe that, this is a huge problem, and the solution is very easy: to hold yourself accountable or have someone hold you accountable to read the Quran in English. I mean, just imagine how many people are entering their graves here, in the West and not having read the whole message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So we focus on that in the Dawalicious Academy. We also do life coaching questions. My goal is to give someone quite like, I bet you, Sheikh, mashallah, you're up there, alhamdulillah, but I bet you I can stump you with some questions that I have. And it'll get you to think
A
about
challenge. The guy's competitive. The guy's competitive. That's why he made
No.
UConn. Now he wants to give me a challenge. Let's hear it. And remind me, by the way, I have an idea for Clear Quran. I have
Okay,
an idea.
I'm good. I
But-
can take it to
Yeah.
take it to Dr. Khattab. But we ask questions like, tell us who you are without telling us what you do. And so we're so in America, we're so attached. I mean, around the world, like we identify ourselves with, I'm a cybersecurity analyst, I'm a basketball player. But what if Khairul Adam didn't have the capacity or didn't have the limbs to even play ball, right? Who would he be then, right? After an accident, who are you? So we try to get to the core of a person's personality and whatnot. And for like marriage, I'll give you a fun one here. Like when someone comes for marriage coaching, we say, tell us one reason why we shouldn't marry you or why someone shouldn't marry you, right? And so, or
tough.
questions like that. It's not, our point is, how do you get to know a person at the most minimal and with the least amount of time? And so we've developed this program. It's coaching, marriage, cybersecurity, all this. And if you go to dawalicious.com, inshallah, you'll find that. But
Smart.
moving on forward, I was inspired, I guess, before going into MYCA, Muslim Youth Center of America. I want to, go back, living in New York, growing up in New York, going to the parks, going into it with several basketballs and then coming out with none, being bullied, playing with, players that are always greater than yourself, right? You always want to put yourself in that position. And slowly, when coming to Connecticut, I focused most of my life on athletics. And even though I wasn't a bad student, as far as academia, I feel like I could have done better. And so before going to college, I think the first time I played organized basketball was 6th or 7th grade. That was around the time of 9/11. And you know how hard it was for people, right, to just find a place. And I found my sanctuary at the court, right, on the court. But it wasn't easy. It was kind of difficult. Every single time you go to practice, someone would make a joke about 9/11 or, hey,
All the time.
is your uncle, bin Laden, all these other things, right? But and you would walk into the court, and before you even dribble a ball, you'd have to prove yourself to the fans. Like, what is this guy doing over here, I started keeping my beard at like 16, 17, quite young. And so high school games in the beginning it wasn't fun, but at the end you'd have to prove yourself by your skill set, right? And so I was trained in that way. I also had the opportunity to play CT Olympics. We have a state Olympics in the state of Connecticut. I don't know if it's like this for other states, but they just recruit, decent players. And then I think 16. I was in the 18 to 19 category, and we're like those going into college. We won silver. We didn't win gold, but alhamdulillah. I played AAU basketball for Glastonbury Thunder, a town near me. And that built up to, and funny, oddly enough, my parents, immigrant parents from, they've been here in this country for 35 plus years, but I never let them actually, it was an insecurity I have that till this day, I think about, I reflect about. Growing up, my parents were like my best friends, right? I didn't, and I tell youth sometimes you don't need the drugs and the girlfriend and boyfriends, because if you let your parents become, your friends, right? With obviously with the level of respect and whatnot, you got the whole world in your hand, right?
Yeah.
And so growing up, but I had an insecurity as a Muslim youth growing up in America, trying to fit in with people. I didn't know what my parents' responses would be if the next parent next to them said, your son just traveled. Oh, that was a double dribble. Oh, I didn't even know if they would know the lingo and whatnot. So they knew I would play basketball because I'd bring in all the trophies and whatnot, medals and whatnot. But I wanted to save that up until college because I had high hopes for myself. And, now coming into college, UConn, they don't do this anymore. But back in the day, I think they stopped this like 5 years ago. Don't quote me, but, there's two ways to get on a team, okay? Especially D1, NCAA, right? You can get a full scholarship, or you can go in via tryouts, okay?
Walk on.
And so, yeah, tryouts, and they're open to everybody pretty much. And they had tryouts. There were 150 players trying out, okay? And 4 out of the 150 made it. People were dunking. They were doing 360s. I remember that was one of the hardest like tryouts of my life, obviously, right? And I was one of the 4 who made it, right?
That's
There was
insane.
another
What's
another
the
kid
math
named
on that?
Ethan. There was another kid on Ethan. His name was Ethan Waite. He was also five. So I was pretty much the first 5'8" Bangladeshi American to ever have walked on to UConn basketball. But there was another friend of mine. He was from East Hartford, the neighboring town. We were rivals, and he also made it too. He actually ended up moving forward, and it was pretty amazing because our whole high school career we would go against each other, and I had to come to a halt, and I'll explain that, and we can move forward. But right after tryouts, we had our first practice, and I was gassed. I remember Jerome Dyson passing me twice. I don't know if you know some of the names: AJ Price, Jerome Dyson. You know, this was the year of Kemba Walker, his first year.
Oh, him.
Right.
What?
And
That whole team is on the
that
in the
whole
NBA.
team, that whole team was the first practice with
Yeah.
that whole team, and we had just finished tryouts. And subhanallah, something crazy I remember is when the coach, when the coach walked in, when Calhoun walked in, everybody did like a bowing type of thing, and I was like, "What's going on over here? Like, is this even right?" you know. But we got the shirts, and we got the shorts. They hadn't given us practice jerseys yet, but. And then so that practice was really hard, and they're like, "All right, see you guys back, Monday, right?" It was a Friday, I think. And so what had happened was, as soon as like practice started, this was my first year in college. Okay, straight off the bat, I had to take a W withdrawal in certain classes because some players would get they would get tutors and whatnot coming to them, right? So you got this privilege of either going to class or either having someone, do one-on-one and sit with you and whatnot. For the academics part. And so like right after the first round, I made the first round through the first round, I started getting fatigued. Like every day I would sleep 8 to 10 hours and I'd still feel fatigue. And one day I go into the doctor's office with some stomach pain. And what they did was they checked my heart and they found a heart murmur. Now at age 18 to 19, it's quite anomalous to have someone with the heart murmur at that stage, right? And so my doctor said to me, "Hey, Khairul, let's get a TEE, which basically means transesophageal echocardiogram. What it is a probe it's a camera that goes through your throat into your, goes through and it takes some pictures of your heart and how it's functioning."
So that's full anesthesia.
Yeah, exactly. And surprisingly, they found a 2-to-1 ratio like blood loss, and my lungs have been compensating for 17 years of my life because this congenital disease is called ASD, atrial septal defect, and it's a hole in the heart where like most babies coming into this dunya have that, and then within a couple of hours or days the flap closes. Let me know if I'm making this too long.
No,
but
keep going.
And so what happened there was they're like, we need to have you go through a surgery, right? We have to do an open heart surgery. There's no other, and you have to stop playing basketball ASAP. Some of the athletes in the NFL, in the NBA, you'll see people like randomly falling down to the ground, right? It's either a VSD, ASD. I'm not a doctor or anything, but pretty much when you're losing a lot of blood, right? And
Where's
you
the
have
blood
pulse
going?
pressure. It's like mine seeped in. They said to the lungs. Like it was
So
seeping
how are you
out
breathing?
of the. Wallahu alam, wallahu alam. It's amazing because for the first time I've been told I've done my checks every year, annual checks, and playing sports you always have to get a physical, regardless, right? I hope everybody's getting their physicals. Everybody get your physical, but you just got to go through that, right? And so, never, that never happened. There was another crazy story, but anyways, let's get back to here. This is actually for the audience who are into ruqya and the spirituality and tazkiyah and whatnot. Sometimes when you have like accolades in life, the biggest thing you learn is to spend time with yourself, prepare yourself with all the external forces and perhaps evil forces that might be, giving you the eye, right? And I had one brother who I grew up with. I kid you not, Sheikh. I grew up with him. And after my surgery, I'm fast forwarding. After a year after my surgery, he takes me to a private room, or maybe it was in the car, and he said, "I have to confess something to you." And I told him, "Go ahead, bro. You can say anything you want to me, and I'm open. I have an open heart, open ears. Lay it on me." He goes, "When you made the UConn, when you passed the first stages of the UConn, tryouts, I had like serious hasad on you. I wanted you to break your leg. I wanted something to happen. And shortly I found out that you went through a heart surgery, and I felt so bad. I've been feeling so bad for months now. I just wanted to bring this up to you, clear the air and whatnot." And, at that moment I realized in life sometimes you continue loving people, but sometimes you got to love people from a distance because they're not, no matter how close they seem to you, they might not, be praying for you. They might be doing the opposite. And I'm not attaching one to another, right? Allahu Alam, Allah knows best. But for this to happen all of a sudden after 18 years of me playing basketball, being, active and whatnot, it was pretty crazy, but alhamdulillah.
Did you have to drop?
I dropped. I had to drop because I had a surgery that year. All my friends and my mentors and my mashayikh from back then, subhanallah, they saw me in a position where they would come see me at the hospital, and I couldn't even see them. I wouldn't like hearing noise because it was like so much painful. Even after the fact, they had to use a catheter for me to go to the bathroom and whatnot. And so what happened was, interestingly, they proposed for me to do a robotic arm surgery. I was the first person in the New England area, in the Northeast, I believe, to have, by Dr. Robert Gallagher. His name was
I don't know
Robert
if that's
Gallagher.
a good thing. Let's take this Bengali kid and experiment on him. Right?
So my sister, she has her PhD in toxicology, and she's like the brains of the house. And she's like, she said what you just said. She's like, they're using me as a guinea pig. Okay, right? Let's test all this out, and I'm like, listen, you know what? Let's see what we can like.
It better be free.
Yeah, and,
Right.
and so subhanallah, there's so many stories behind that. But thank God I had insurance, right? The bill was $75,000, right? And that made me realize that every heartbeat, every breath is a bonus to everything that we get, right? And so what happened was, long story short, okay, there's so much to this, but the pudding is in the details, right? And so what happened was that I went through open heart surgery, a robotic arm surgery, where the doctor was not even in the room where he was performing the heart surgery. He was in another room. He was in another room, right? Now it's crazy where you can perform heart surgery from another country and whatnot, right? I don't know, with AI, with technology and whatnot, but back in the day, I'm talking about 12 years ago. I don't want to give my age. Did I already say that? Anyways.
We know Kemba Walker's age, so that's
okay, yeah, they can do the calculations. But anyways, so the point over here is that I went through that. I had to stop playing basketball, which, subhanAllah, I spent more time with the MSA and the Mashayikh. We were blessed to have shuyukh from Darul Hadith, from al Qura, from Medina University, who would come and do their PhDs, but at the same time teach us 101 fiqh, aqidah, and all that. And so I spent so much time. We have a masjid at UConn. It's, I think, the only masjid in the center of campus in the whole Northeast. It's called the ICUC, Islamic Center of University of Connecticut. And we really focused on just going to school, and while I was recovering, sitting with the mashayikh, learning Quran, hadith and whatnot, because I never did formal studies in Islam, but I was so blessed with that. And so how does this go into my vision? When you step into a court that has 7,000 to 8,000 seating arrangements, and even though it's empty, when you dribble a ball in a collegiate level basketball arena, when you are part of such a big athletic, you know what I'm saying? Like, UConn is known for their athletics, not only basketball, football, and all these, right?
I think UConn's athletics and Duke, they're more prestigious than some NBA teams who nobody cares about. Like the Pelicans, right?
Of course. Well, unfortunately, Connecticut, we don't have any NBA teams but we're still on the map. March Madness is something people love more than
UConn's bigger than the Pelicans.
Yeah, right.
Name me one guy I don't even know what the logo looks like, right?
No, but all that to say that, alhamdulillah, I was blessed through that journey, but I had a vision that carried on. I wasn't vocal about it until, honestly, recently. And it's been brewing in the back of my head, and I've had several, I worked in the mental health counseling. I was a counselor at a BHU, behavioral health unit. Then I slowly went into cybersecurity. Then I started doing masjid, youth directing work at McLean Islamic Center. I moved away to to Virginia. I was with the Treasury at that time for cybersecurity. I was just dabbling on everything.
So you're successful in cybersecurity.
I mean, I've been in it for 8 years. It's a stressful job. It's like, the front line of defense in a how can I put this? Like, we're trying to secure people's monies, right? And so you get
I guess that's a transferable skill from playing defense, right? At UConn.
Hey, it's amazing. There's so many spiritual lessons too. Like, when you're going through logs, you're always reminded of the spirituality, and you're always reminded of, Allah says, "Madi hadal kitab la yughadiru saghiratan wala kabiratan illa ahsaha." Right? He's talking about every single thing that will be recorded in your book. And when you work in a field where you're like analyzing, doing PCAPs, and you're analyzing logs of people's every millisecond move on the internet, then you realize, subhanallah, on the day of judgment, the same thing's gonna happen to me. So
Insane.
so
Subhanallah.
I try to make parallels wherever whichever field I was in and whatnot. And today, alhamdulillah, we're working on this project now, coming back. The actual-
Amazingly, you're not the first D1 athlete I met that had to bow out of his sport. And it's like Allah plucked him out for safety purposes for himself. We had here at Rutgers, I can't remember his name, but he was a guy who was a safety on the football team and was considered one of the top safeties in the country. And he was a shoo-in to be drafted. And then he got hit by a car. While driving, someone hit him.
Subhanallah.
Okay, ruined his career. Then, assalamu alaikum, gentlemen. How are you? Assalamu alaikum. Atlanta also, or Memphis? Memphis.
MashaAllah.
Memphis with ikhfa there. Memphis, right? Okay. So I think we just made fun of your basketball team, by the way. Where are the Pelicans from? New Orleans. Oh, okay. What's the difference between New Orleans and Memphis? It's the same thing, right? You're so out there, right? Okay, but back to the subject, because I have two guests here from Memphis. But Shaykh Ismail, our own Shaykh here at ICJ, he's a faqih now. Hafiz Quran, studied 8 years in Qarawiyyin, mashallah. He was a D1 soccer player. I don't know if he didn't want this to be said, but he's a D1 soccer player in Tennessee, which the SEC there, they have these, they're good at that.
Yes.
Their teams are the best.
Yeah.
In soccer, and he had to come out. So that's now you're like the third person who was in a D1 sport that had to come out of it. Right? Yeah.
There's many talent out there. Like there's many, and we'll get to that when we get to the Shaykh N Bake All-Star game. We have a vision for the imams here. We have a vision for the influencers. We have a practical solution because there's so many stories I can tell you, but this Shaykh N Bake All-Star basketball game is very unique in that it's never happened before. You don't bring the mashayikh together. You have different community events where someone gives a dars, a sheikh goes, and gives a dars or a 2-minute reminder. But we don't put I'm not trying to be rude over here or anything, but we don't put, we have to tell our imams to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And so when we bring up sports and spirituality, when we bring up a hadith in Quran about being well, about wellness, fitness, health, then we have to show them to our youth. We have to show the fact that, and so there's so much talent. You don't have to be a D1 player. There are great, folks out there, they, working out and then but they're not known. They can dispense all this knowledge, but they don't have the platform to do so. But I want to talk about that a little bit later at the end. The vision, what we see, annual, think about this, like ICNA, ISNA, MUNA, MYCA holding annual sports conventions where imams gather together, right, with 30, 40, 50,000 people attending, where you have, sports engagements, right, from basketball to volleyball to pickleball to everything under the sun, right?
Yep.
And we hold our imams accountable for that, right? And it's just about sports and spirituality, which all goes back to Islam. And I'm sure we can talk about the implications when it comes to the Quran and Sunnah and all the hadith and whatnot. And I was going to go into that before I, give you some parallels and stories about why I think it's important to have a center like MYCA.
And MYCA, by the way, if you're on Zoom, but on YouTube the poster's up, so it's you and the whole All-Star Game poster.
Oh, mashallah, beautiful.
And now tell me something. MYCA, the first one is going to be in Connecticut, correct?
The pilot will be in Connecticut, but our hope is that once the pilot is up, inshallah, we'll be moving around just like any other chain, just like YMCA, Lifetime, just like JCC. And that's our goal. Now, I have some leverage and pull in this state. Now, people say a lot of things. I've been talking to investors, and Khairul, why don't you move this to Dallas? Why don't you move this to Cali? Why don't you come back to DMV? And we're not stubborn about this, and we would love to talk further about, but when you are, when you spend your whole life in a town, in a city, in a state, and you see the potential when it's actually not there, and you see the need for it, and the pull that I might have with certain officials, state officials, the zoning directors and whatnot, it's just too many green lights over here for me to just move out and go to a different community and just start a project just like out of thin air. Even though I'll have support from the imams, I'll have support from the people there. But it's something that we're thinking about. But we would like to pilot in Connecticut and then slowly move forward, inshallah. Once the
So
first one.
my question is, what is the population of Connecticut?
So one of our governors, the previous governor, is Governor Malloy. He had said in 2016 the population of Connecticut is about 160,000 Muslims, right? If you go online, you see all numbers everywhere, 44,000 to all the way to 100 to 150,000. We have a yearly Eid Salah at one of the major Excel centers here in Hartford. There's about 7 to 10,000 people that show up, sometimes like 4 or 5. But, I was blessed to lead there once, and about 7,000, 100 different ethnicities showed up, right? I think there's a study where they say that 33% of the Muslim population go to Jummah and the rest they don't, right? Or the practicing Muslim population. I've been told that only 17% of masjid space is utilized. The average masjid space is utilized, right? And so if you look at all these studies, and if anecdotally, I could tell you a lot of, especially our Bengali community, they're moving from New York in droves in Connecticut, right? We did have this issue during COVID where people were moving out of Connecticut. Once you're done with college and people hit the ceiling here in Connecticut, they want to move to other places for work purposes, family and whatnot. But that's the population, right? And so when you do a market analysis and when you're looking at, and there's case studies, there are case studies. I'm sure ICNA was held in Connecticut, in Hartford County, before it moved to Baltimore. We used to cap out at 25,000 to 30,000 people a year. Now, some people are like, Connecticut, what's that, a sandwich or something? But, technically it is. We're sandwiched between Massachusetts and New York, right? So when some people say like the whole thing about when you build it, they'll come. Well, we have proof that when we had these conferences, they came, and so, that is a question that I've always been asked, and it does sometimes make sense maybe to move the project around, not be so stubborn as we're not, to go to a different part of the country and start there and then come back.
Well, the thing is that if you can make it work in Connecticut, you can pretty much make it work in the bigger cities, no doubt about it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And Connecticut's going to be a nice challenge for you because you're actually going to have to really pull teeth to get the thing going because you need people there every day.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so you're going to have to be very creative to how to do that. That
Correct.
creativity, you wouldn't have needed that in Dallas.
Correct.
And that's one of the good. It's like playing on a bad team. You got to play extra good,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
But then
Correct.
once you got great players around you, you wouldn't have to, be like that.
Beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
And that's why maybe we can segue into why we think this should exist generally. Like why MYCA, why must it exist? And I'd like to say certain things about this because I want you to just imagine, and this is the story of many youth, many of our youth, many adults who've lived here, our parents and whatnot, and they grew up here not finding a space. But just imagine like a Muslim boy, right? He's full of potential, okay? Potential for not even not only D1, right? But let's say the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Dribbling a basketball, alone in his driveway, because his local gym is a place he doesn't feel secure, right? Imagine a young Muslim sister who is passionate about sports or wants to be in the aquatic team or wants to do swimming, right? Be on the swimming team, right? But she's forced to choose between her hijab and competing in a team, right? Now things are getting better for us, alhamdulillah, right? Some say it's getting better, some say it's getting worse. But now I want you to imagine like a place for Muslims where they have a home, they have faith, fitness, and wellness, right? And imagine I keep on telling you to imagine this space. Like I come on another podcast and then a year later I come in and imagine. See, because that place does not exist, and MYCA is trying to change that, That's why when we're founded, we're a 501c3, we're focused on mental health and physical well-being, but it's through sports and spirituality, right? And it will be, inshallah, it will be the first ever state-of-the-art Muslim-friendly sports complex in the United States of America. We believe it. We don't know when, but we believe that it will happen, right? And the question we have to our audience and to everybody and anybody we speak to, America has the YMCA. It's not only for Christians, but the YMCA does stand for Young Men's Christian Association. You'd be surprised how many people don't even know the abbreviations. The JCC does stand for Jewish Community Center, right? And so the question here is, where is the Muslim equivalent? Why is there no MYCA that exists already? Why does Khairul Alam have to come out of nowhere, out of this, like, who's Khairul Alam, right? Where's all the investors? Where are all the people who got the money, right? Who got the visions? So is it a vision problem? Is it a market analysis problem? Is it a, what is it, a space problem? Where is the sanctuary for the youth where they can thrive? Like, imagine I want someone to become a Olympian, right? Just like Ibtihaj Muhammad, right? Fencing, won a medal in fencing, right? Imagine, obviously Kyrie Irving and all these other, everybody knows them, right? But will they come to a masjid extension to practice? Will they come to a mega complex? If you build a mega complex like they're building in Texas, mashallah, barakallah, and all over the nation, where is the center where we provide hydraulic hoops with NBA flooring, with Olympic size, swimming pools, state of the art food court, to Dawah and Sports Education Center? Where is that, right? And so if we look at stats, one in every 3 Muslim, they feel isolated in their community, okay? And 70% of Muslim teens, they say that they have hard time accessing any type of Muslim-led athletic programs, Muslim-led in Muslim space, right? When it comes to physical inactivity, you know very well, I'm sure you've spoken about anxiety, depression, low self-esteem and whatnot. This is rising in our youth. They say the number 1 killer before diabetes, on top of diabetes in a couple of years or a decade, will be the lack of movement, depression, loneliness, right?
100%.
This is not just for the non-Muslims, right? This is for, and so now when we backtrack a little bit, like, this is what I ask people, like, especially the students of knowledge, Tullab al-Ilm, and I ask Shuyuk this, like, when's the last time you've given, or the general population, I'm asking this, I'm looking into the eyes of your audience at this moment right now, right? And I'm asking them, when is the last time you heard a khutbah, a full khutbah on Islam in sports or Sunnah in sports, not just 1 or 2 ahadith or just a general idea of health and wellness? And you're probably thinking back and like, I think back in my 35 years of life, 20 years of listening to khutbs and whatnot, I was the first one who gave a khutbah on sports and spirituality, like a whole khutbah on it, right? And so, but the more you realize, the more you look back into the seerah, you can't separate Islam and sports, right? I don't know what you think about that, Sheikh. Like, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm just passionate about this, right?
I think if you don't sweat, you're gonna get depressed.
I agree. I agree. What's the closest thing to, I don't even know if I'm able to say this, but Muslims being on a battlefield, what's the closest thing in the West is playing sports, contact sports.
Why do sports exist? Because there were no wars. Literally, football was made to replace World War II, right?
SubhanAllah, like,
and World War I. I mean,
I didn't even know that. SubhanAllah.
Oh, look at all the terminology. Look at the origin of football. The sons of World War I veterans were mimicking the sport, the war. Yeah,
Allahu Akbar.
It's literally war. It's just trying to get to the other end, right? And then you got Blitz. That's a German term. You got all these other terms. And so they were just mimicking that. So in the absence of war, you played sports.
Well, I asked people, do you think the Prophet ﷺ went into war picking up a sword that was made out of jelly or like plastic? No, right? And the movements they'd have to do, right? The range of motions they had, right? The armor that they had, all the walking they used to do. Like, what do you think? And I'll go into this, but we all know the story of Rukana ibn Abi Yazid, where imagine, like, I want your audience to imagine someone coming onto this show. I already challenged you already, but someone coming on physically to your site and with all good intentions, they want to enter Islam and they say, Dr. Shadee, Imam Shadee, Sheikh Shadee, I have a proposal for you. In front of everybody today, in front of all the crowd, I want to wrestle you, and if you beat me, I will accept Islam wholeheartedly. Okay? And so imagine now, my question to your audience and your followers and your community is, what are they thinking in their head? Are they thinking the Imam's going to go down real quick?
Everyone's going to start sweating, right?
Are they thinking, they're thinking, oh, you know what? We're going to have to fire him before this even happens, right? If he accepts the challenge. Or are they thinking that, you know what? He's got this, right? And so imagine, just imagine, right? This is Ramadan. And like, before the Salah starts and the person comes up and you're like, challenge accepted. and I'm sure everybody's jaws dropping, their lungs and hearts coming out their mouths, right? But then you actually within a matter of seconds pin him down, right? Okay, so this is exactly what happened to the Prophet alayhi salam, right? Rukana was the best of the best, cream of the crop in Mecca, from the Quraysh, right? How did he do this? And I think it's Imam Nawawi or someone talks about how he challenged the Prophet ﷺ 3 times just to see what the Prophet ﷺ's technique was to pin him down. And so the crazy part here technique. Is anybody who knows, like, you know, I'm not going into the fiqh of it. I'm not giving anything. I'm saying even when it comes to boxing or MMA, you cannot step inside the ring with Khabib unless you have some training. Forget Khabib, any other, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to step inside the ring with Muhammad Ali if you don't have some training, right? And so what does that indicate, my brothers and sisters? It indicates the Prophet ﷺ was already fit. He was somewhere, someplace, sometimes working on his, you know what I'm saying? Physique, his body, his, stamina, right? And so the Prophet ﷺ was not just a religious leader, a political leader, a commander, a judge, a legislator, a social reformer, a diplomat, a businessman, a family man, an orator, an educator. I would say that, believe it or not, he would fit the description in today's description, what we call an athlete. Now, maybe I'll get some backlash to that.
You can say athletic.
Athletic, right? He was athletically built, right? He raced with Aisha radiallahu anha. Everybody knows that, right? He encouraged archery, right? Swimming, sibaha, right? Literally, comes from the same root word as tasbih. So any of my qurra friends, they tell me, Khairul, you have to focus on breathing control if you want to, with the right makharij, right, with the right tajweed and whatnot, you got to focus really internally, right? And so the more swimming you do, the better prepared you are to recite Quran, horseback riding, And so all of these things, Sheikh, Dr. Shadee, I believe that we have it in the Sunnah, we have it in our books. We have Bab al-Rimaya, a chapter on archery, which is anything throwing from a small rock to a rocket, right? Imam Bukhari was known 10 out of 10 when it comes to archery. Like if you read some of the bios of these folks, you'll see that they were the Prophet ﷺ said, when Bilal radiallahu anhu said to him about a couple of Sahaba who are late in praying, he said they're not coming to prayer. He said, Utrukhum innahum fi salah. They're indeed in salah. They're so focused in this sport that they're in salah. Some of the scholars say the rawda, the paradise that we some of us got to experience praying on top of the rugs and the place and the sanctuary. This place is where the Sahaba wrestled more than they prayed. Some of the du'at say that. And so where have we been in relaying this message to the youth? And so last time I was at a conference and I asked the Imam, what do you think about your next khutbah being about sports? You don't have to talk about my Shaykh N Bake game, but what about sports and health? And he goes, subhanallah, the answer that he gives me is quite fascinating, right? And I didn't think about this before, right? And he goes, Khairul, look at my stomach. Look at my stomach. He said, Allah says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. Why would I talk about something I myself am not engaged in? Yeah. And now I started thinking about the insecurities some of the leaders of the community have because they can't show to people that they've been doing what they're talking about.
Of course.
And so if you tell the imams to go to the gym, well, that's a fitna. That's a red flag right there. I remember I found a local imam at a gym. I try to go at times where I don't see anything, but that's really hard, right? Alhamdulillah, I'm just a brother Khairul Alam, just a founder of a couple of things. No imam, no sheikh, no nothing. Nothing tied behind my name except brother Khairul Alam, who love the youth, who love Allah and the Prophet ﷺ, and that's his goal, right? To make people fall in love. But I'm in the gym feeling uncomfortable. Then I see a imam in the gym. As soon as I go closer to him, he's like turning his back around to see if he can hide from me, right? Right? And like, why do we have this fitri sense of like uncomfortability because the science says even your pheromones, like when you smell the opposite gender, it gets you that's naturally gets you excited. Now you're in a gym mixed with the opposite gender, and obviously what they're wearing is not conducive health, to spiritual health, but there's a lot of other scientific things going on there that draw you to each other physically, right? And so why do we not have a space? Why do we not have MYCA already? I don't need to do this. I didn't need to come up with this vision. I've been to so many communities that like, I thought about this. Investor would say, Khairul, I thought about this.
Everyone thought about it. It's the execution that matters.
Yeah. So the time from an idea to the window between time to an idea, the execution, is what matters the most. A lot of people think about great ideas, right? But you have to execute, and that's what we're trying to do. And Prophet ﷺ, inna li jasadika alayka haqqa. Like, we don't have to prove from the sunnah that our body is an amana, right? We don't have to prove that because it's already stamped in there, right? We have too many verses in the Quran, mashallah, tabarakallah, to not be able to. Here's my theory before I stop here. My theory is that I will not talk about MYCA to convince someone more than 60 seconds. If someone doesn't get it, they don't get it. But I will educate you for hour after hour after hour, telling you why this is important. Come join us, help us, right? Support us. It doesn't matter who Khairul Alam is. Join the movement, right? Be a part of this thing. Imagine if you were a part of building the first masjid in America, which most people don't know. It was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. A bunch of Syrian and Palestinian brothers got together, and they, in 1934, what is now known as the mother of all masjids, mother of mosques, they built this, and they set the precedence for 3,000 plus masajid in the United States of America. Why wouldn't you give your hand, your arm, your limb, your life, your blood, your sweat? Why wouldn't you give that for this type of center?
Question for you. The actual physical center is going to contain a gym and a workout room and then a multi-purpose room? Is that,
Okay,
and then locker rooms for each?
Very
Is
good
that what it's
question.
going to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go into this. We have a conceptual design to show people who come to the Shaykh N Bake All-Star game. That is basically one of the reasons we're doing this. Is we're not gonna this is not just an idea and khalas, we take your money. This, we've had concept. We're working with engineers. We're working with people in the back end, right? We have a conceptual design up. So for people who really want to know exactly, but I'll brush over this right now.
Can we see it?
Right
Do you
now.
have it digitally?
I have it. If you just go to, if he goes to the MYCA page.
Yeah, go there, Omar.
If Omar goes to the MYCA page, type in Muslim Youth Center of America and then conceptual design. Or if you just go to our website, you'll find it at our conceptual design tab. Okay, if you go to the website, you can pull it up. But what it is, imagine like, a world-class showcase arena, okay? Where this showcase arena is not just for basketball, it's volleyball, futsal, anything we can do indoors, right? Then you have an aquatic center, right? With Olympic-sized swimming pools where, there's no compromising modesty, right? I remember my teacher, my dear teacher, I don't know if I should mention his name here or not, but our dear Sheikh Hatem Al-Hajj, who gave me the green light many years ago about this center. After all my presentation and after all the slides I showed him, he had one thing to say. He's like, Khairul, make sure you have 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools, and so, even our shuyukh are excited, alhamdulillah. I'm not putting anyone's name to this yet, right? But you can see all the imams that are coming together for this. You'd have an aquatic center, you'd have a prayer space within the complex, and I'm thinking, you got to remind every athlete that sujood is the most powerful posture of strength that a Muslim has. And so we're trying to build space where it's not a masjid, right? We have a disadvantage. We can't use the hadith of, whoever builds a masjid for Allah, Allah will build a masjid for them. But what we can do is, if there is convention centers of 10, 15, 20,000 people, we would have space for all those people to come and pray together, right? In this facility, right? And that's why we want it to be, if option A for us is grand. It's 450,000 square foot building with a field house with, separated men's and women's like Lifetime, like Big Sky, right? A halal food court, a sports education and dawah center. And pretty much that is overall, what we need is also like a banquet hall. It's all in the conceptual design concept, because we want people to get married there. We want couples to stay healthy and well. We want them to come to the gym together, pretty much.
Let me tell you something. The purpose of Muslims in America, in my opinion, is the number one thing is bring people together.
Yes, I agree.
And we try to use the masjid, but the masjid, of course, is the most sacred, but the least practical.
Yes.
Okay. And it doesn't always pull in everyone that needs to be pulled in. So that's why I'm a big believer that every community needs multiple institutions. And certain institutions will attract more people than even a masjid will. Of course, Ramadan, Taraweeh is a bit different. Jummah, of course, is your beating heart of the week, regardless. But, for example, schools, they operate from 8 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, all the way to 4 p.m., 5 times a week. So a kid will be at a Muslim school more than he'll be in his masjid. Okay. Now the gym, now we have coffee houses, so we know how to put on weight. Okay, and spend splurge amounts of money to put on more calories and take in more sugar and caffeine and stay up late and do all those things and just sit there on our laptops and phones and chit chatting with lattes.
Yeah.
All right, fine. So we got a social, but we still don't have this.
Correct.
And this is going to pull in. You'll probably, if you do this right and this works out, you're probably going to have more people at this Aisha, more youth at this Maghrib and Aisha.
So
Than in the Masjid, for sure.
Let me inject something here,
Yeah.
Dr. Shadee. This is one of the fears that Masajid have with this, and this is one of the reasons why they actually, some of them won't even let us hand out flyers. They would say straight to my face, you know, I put, alhamdulillah, a lot of work in, like, you know, local masjids, like working with their youth and whatnot. And I get it. Everybody has their own branding and everybody has their incentives and every community is serving a specific demographic. But imagine I'm giving out the Quran and you stop me from doing that because I don't fit your description or whatever, right? You can't stop someone from, Allah's going to ask you, why did you stop such a beautiful project from happening when it's supposed to unite the Muslims and be as a source of da'wah for the non-Muslims in a place where there's 333 million people in the United States of America and you're only 4, 5, 6% of that, right? So can I give you some numbers if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
The masjid folks might not like this because now I'm going to lay it down to you how this can work. This is one way of actually funding this project, right? But it's kind of not practical, like you said, because it's hard sometimes to work with the masajid, right? Now, let's take the number 3,000 masjids in America, okay? Let's say the average masjid is 5,000 to 8,000 square feet, and or let's just say it's a little bit bigger, and let's say the community spends $100,000 in maintaining that masjid, the whole 9 yards. They pay the imam and all that, right? Let's just say $100,000, right? That's $300 million of the Muslims ummah going into the masjids in America.
Yep.
If we were to take 5% of that, that is $15 million per year that MYCA, if it was allocated to sports and wellness and health, and they would like a center right next to their masjid. We're not trying to break down a masjid. We're not trying to take from the masjid. We're trying to actually inspire the youth, right? And build something where the imams can actually go there too, because space is limited. Imagine we were to prove to the community that just a small portion of the money that's already going into these masajid are going to centers like MYCA. It doesn't have to be MYCA, something sports and wellness related, right?
Yep.
We could technically do that, Sheikh. Like, we could technically do it. But the hard problem, the problem we have is not the money. It's not the platforms. It's not the, being able to give a lecture or speech right now. It's about people's heart not accepting, right?
What?
I think it's an ego and heart issue. I think it's the ego and heart issue. I think that if you're a masjid board member, if you don't see like your child going into the space and literally protecting their Islam, right? Then what you're going to think about is how many people can I increase in my community this year? How many more Bengalis or Pakistanis or Arabs can we increase in our local community? And we have an increase of population, but we don't have inequality, right?
Yeah.
And so what I want to say, the message to Masajid board is, Allah says, "Fastabiqul khairat" to everybody, right? He doesn't say jog. He doesn't use the word jog. He doesn't say walk. He doesn't say crawl. He said race to the goodness, race to all that is good. And we want help from the masajid to race to that which is good. And we truly believe this is something good, your health. Bengali community, listen, I'm preaching to the choir. If you're Bengali out there, we have issues with our health and food, and we die extra early, because of all of our, our what we intake, right? And so we need to be at the gym. And so I just think that it's important for masjids to understand that, that's one hiccup that we find, moving forward, right? But it's okay. We want everybody to join the race. We're trying to lay the foundation. We're building MYCA because we do believe that dawah through Islam is the way to go. Habib came, looked into the camera after 9/11 to change the political atmosphere and do a 180 turn where he can look into the camera and say, Alhamdulillah, I know you don't like this.
Yep.
Then you have Joe Rogan, people like Joe Rogan in their podcast talking about halal haram ratio. Like, where did this happen? How did this happen? How is it that American Muslims, they would go on flight, go on an airplane and be kicked out because they're writing Alhamdulillah in Arabic or
Yeah.
Inshallah, and they're being kicked out of flights, right? And why is that the case? And then all of a sudden, some athlete comes out of nowhere,
Yeah.
looks into the camera. Why? Because he was the best of the best in his field, right?
And also don't forget before that they elected a president with the middle name Hussein. And I'll tell you the real reason is because 9/11 was done by the Mossad Jews, right? It's not done by Muslims. Yeah. We know ourselves. We know ourselves. American Muslims could not have pulled this off, and we're the most educated people, right?
No, yeah, but
Let
you know,
alone some Saudis and some Afghanis. These brothers are so miskeen. They couldn't barely put it together a halal food cart in New York, right? Let alone take down 2 towers like that. It's not happening. We know our community. Okay?
Subhanallah. But you know that.
It's
So
Gru
my
stole
message.
9/11 is Gru stole the moon. Vector. Yeah, he stole the moon. Okay. Anyway,
But-
you
but
know,
my-
you touched on something I have to.
Go ahead. Of course,
to
no,
say
of course,
it.
100%. Like I'm just saying that how did we do that? Through sports, through entertainment, right? And so we need to push that, but we need to bring back the Quran and Sunnah here, right? We have to bring back, you know, Orthodoxy Islam, inshallah, the traditional. We don't go around telling people, hey, we're building a sports complex. Well, now they know, right? Because our main goal is for you guys to fall in love with Allah and the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then educate yourself, because the number one thing before sports is education, right? Islamic education and whatnot. But fitness, wellness is a part of that, as a part of the ethos of Islam, right? And so my last thing before we go into Shaykh N Bake, I know we probably don't have too much time, and I spend most of my time talking because I'm really excited to be with you, and I wish you were the commentator of our, you know, but inshallah next time. But I have 3 questions to ask your audience today.
Okay.
Okay. Before we go into the Shaykh N Bake and before we, you know, say goodbye to each other until Allah makes us meet again. If not me, then who? Always ask yourself these 3 questions. Whenever you have a dream, vision, right? If not me, then who? If not now, then when? If not this, then what?
Yep.
Those 3 questions, ask yourself, right? And, you know, you're going to go through so much, and when you have a vision, and people are going to say so many things, but the only thing blocking you is yourself. Like, honestly, I know this is cliche, right? Is your thoughts, is the fear. Brother, sister, we're going to die anyways. We were born to die. Like, our real life begins after death. So what are you afraid of, right? Literally, no pun intended, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And right? And so take it, right? And, you know, I was always told, like, my parents taught me that, you know, always vision, like always think, you know, and they say the successful man is a child who never gave up on his dream. And my parents always put me in an environment to dream big, to do big, to serve big, right? It's not like serve big or go home. It's more like you have 2% to give in that big dream, give it. Don't think it's 100% or zero. Maybe 50% of your time, give it. Maybe you don't have monetary, like, you know, you don't have that, right? You can't pay, but you can spread the message, right? And so childhood dreams, they don't have deadlines. Sometimes we will plant seeds and grow trees under whose shade we will never sit. You have to understand that. And it's okay, right? It's okay. And so, you know, I just think that, you know, we have to come together, inshallah, right? And that's what we're doing. And I'm going to go into Shaykh N Bake basketball before I leave, right? But I want people to support, and I want people to take this as their own project, inshallah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you had a space like this, the amount of renting that you could do.
Yes, of
A
course.
coffee shop. You're not going to run the
Oh.
coffee shop yourself. You rent it out to like a brand, or you're not going to run the food yourself. You
course.
rent it out to a brand name.
Of course.
Different brand names out there. And we have brand names now. Haraz in coffee and all these different people love these things.
Yeah,
And let me
America,
tell you
come
something.
on.
I met a guy the other day, and I don't think he's alone. He just showed up in the masjid with a friend of his. And he said, I'm a Christian. I have some questions about Islam. He said, and part of his story was that he just felt more comfortable hanging out with the Muslim guys because their lives were in order, in his words. He said, our life was out of order, like too many divorces, a lot of zina, a lot of drugs, right? But the Muslims, their life was in order, so I felt more stable around them. You also have to think of yourself as actually you're doing something for all of America, not just the Muslim community, because you may not realize it. Most people don't want to be in certain environments where guys and girls are just sizing each other up. It's just like an annoying environment to be in. They much rather work out only women with women, right? They much rather that.
Correct.
And they much rather, even Christians, families, they haven't been able to put together, unless they're in the South in huge megachurch communities, they haven't been able to find environments like this on the East Coast. So Christian families will be all into this.
I believe.
Yeah,
I believe
and
it.
I'm telling you, you don't be surprised when this thing takes off. That it's like 25% regular people. They just prefer this environment. Right?
Correct. And one thing, I think another barrier to us like envisioning this, and Muslims, when someone comes to me, when I coach certain youth, right? And they come to me like, Khairul, I don't know what to do with life. I don't have any motivation, right? And that's really hard to see in a youth that has so many privileges in America and whatnot. And I know we're dealing with a lot of mental health problems, whatnot. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. Who am I supposed to trust? The kid or the auntie or the uncle who comes to me and says that there's nothing to do in life, right? And so we say that, okay, start somewhere, right? Have a vision and have people, surround yourself with people, have practical steps. And like you mentioned, subhanallah, doctor, you mentioned order. It's something that Allah created the world with. Like take, for example, like when we do tawaf, everybody knows the ritual of circling around the Kaaba, the circumambulation, right? It mirrors the movement of protons around the nucleus, the planets orbiting stars, the galaxies rotating through the cosmos. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the same God who created this parallel exists. It exists because the creator created this whole dunya, this world, right? And he also gave us certain rituals to do. And he also internally put in us this inherent thing about order, organized, right? And so, and then something more amazing is that, if you look at, I don't want to get, make this into a spiritual thing, right? But like, it is amazing. If you look at Alif, Lam, Mim, right? And what Allah's trying to say with that, they're the basic letters of this language, of this Arabic language. And then he challenges people to produce a book like this if they can. So it's like when you look at DNA code, right? What you see is the blueprint of all life. Everything written is in just 4 letters. You got A, T, G, and C. It's like Allah saying, I only use these basic elements to create the complexity of life. Now go ahead and create something and challenge me.
Yep.
So I say to Muslims, as long as you're not challenging Allah, as long as you know your limitations, but you have high visions and you know that we can't lift a finger except what Allah, wills for us, then you have a good start, and then have a vision, have a practical plan, have the people, surround yourself with people, and start doing the work. And this hopefully segues into our first ever Shaykh N Bake All-Star basketball game.
Very good. We got 5 minutes to go.
Okay.
Speaking of this, I'm actually a coach. I'm an assistant coach. I coach I'm the DC. I'm the defensive coordinator.
MashaAllah.
For our team. Which is why the stream is early. But Omar, when are we streaming from now on? Did we say 1 o'clock?
We have to decide. Yeah, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock is fine. So, but anyway, September 27th. Where can people watch the Shaykh N Bake Celebrity All-Star Game?
So
where can people watch it?
Obviously we want them there, right? We want them there first, and then, but we are inshallah gonna go live. We'll have it on right now. What we're doing is, hopefully, inshallah, we're having a well-known Muslim TV network group helping us with the live streaming. We'll have some trash talking, some interviews as well too. We're almost all set with that, but I don't want to promise anything. But we will have it live streamed on our Facebook, MYCA Facebook, on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Now we've been working so much on the actual project that we haven't grown our social media to that level, right? And so if you go to Muslim Youth Center of America, our YouTube page, or our Facebook page, or just our social, our Instagram, Muslim YCA, you'll see some content there, and we're gonna try to go live there, inshallah. And as far as the details, like, we just want people to know that it is the first of its kind. It's a celebrity all-star. I mean, maybe we can take that name out. That could be controversial, but not everybody's the Shaykh N Bake All-Star Celebrity Basketball Game, right?
Okay.
It's on Saturday, September 27, 2025. It's from 5 to 10 p.m. But here's the thing. Anybody who purchases a ticket, they have access to the center to go actually see the museum. It's a basketball hall of fame. This is the same place where NBA legends get inducted and honored, right? This is the same place that Michael Jordan gives his speech. This is the same place where, Larry Bird, all of them have been honored and inducted, and we're bringing the imams on the same court. And so we want our audience and our fans and our followers to come, and our supporters to come and actually get a sense of what the place looks like, tour the museum. Go ahead, Sheikh.
Idea. Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yes.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf.
Yes.
Khabib.
Yes.
Just pay for the whole thing. They'll fund the whole thing. You want me to get you a meeting with Khabib?
It'll be nice. We've they're under our radar. By the way, like not Khabib, but the other guys, they know of us. Like I don't know if I can advertise this because I don't think, but anyways, we're speaking to some Muslim, there might be a surprise. There might be, I'm not sure. But we're speaking to some Muslim former NBA players and whatnot. Let's see where we go with that. But if you can, that'll be amazing. Why not?
I'm telling you, this thing is one of those things. Yeah, the community can help, but one of these guys, boom.
That's it. That's all we need.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Dr. Shadee. I'm afraid that there's going to be too much MMA going on if we invite Khabib on the court, and now people are going to end up in the hospital. No, you know how they play, right? In Dagestan, you know that, right?
Yeah.
It's wrestling basketball. It's like they're not focused on the hoop or anything. They're focused on pinning you down.
Send them
right?
Dagestan 3 days and forget.
Our next event is in Dagestan, 2026. No, but location is Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. Again, this is the first time. I just want to be clear. Everybody's invited. Families under 5 free. The courtside tickets are $100. Again, they all go to MYCA. The second and third floor balcony is $50. You can buy your tickets on Eventbrite. I think you said you have the flyer on the
flyer's
page,
up,
right?
but what about watching it?
And then you can watch it through the streams like Facebook or YouTube, right? If you go to Muslim YC, start following us, inshallah. There are limited tickets. We don't want you to miss out. So try to secure your tickets today, inshallah.
No, 2 more things before you wrap up.
Sure.
You're gonna cut a highlight reel after this and come back, and we're gonna play the top 10 and then not top 10.
That would be amazing. Well, can I ask you something?
Yes.
What happens if all of these shuyukh mashayikh end up in the hospital within the first 5 minutes? Do we get can we?
That's like not top 10. Hilarious. I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm laughing because I'm not one of the players. That's why.
We're still trying to fill that gap in commentating, but inshallah we will find someone, and we you know what? I'm gonna tell you this. I wanted to surprise you, but I still got you an all-star jersey with the number
good.
you wanted.
I want one so I could wear it the day that we do the top 10,
Beautiful.
not top 10.
Beautiful. Right? I just hope we have at least top 2 plays. You know what I'm saying? And then, I hope we have
proper
something like
inbound pass.
Inshallah. Shaykh, was there something else you wanted to say?
Yes, there was one other thing I was thinking about when you were talking about how you help with the clear Quran.
Yes.
All right, something came to my mind.
Yes.
In a single year, we read a lot of text messaging, right?
Yes.
How much text messaging do we read, right? In a single day, it may be this much of a book, an entire book, right?
Correct.
In a single week, probably for sure, this much text message. If you take all of our text messages that we read, and compile them in 1 week, you'll have a book for sure.
Correct.
And you said that people don't read the Quran anymore.
There's a lot of barriers. The language, they don't like it. It's not colloquial. It's watered. It's hard to read.
It's hard to read. So I have an idea for you. What if there was a service, where you would get a text message?
Beautiful. Say no more. Let's cut the show right here.
You got it?
Go ahead.
Got the idea, right?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Explain to the people.
That's it. Every single day I sign up for Clear Quran, I get a text message. Not an annoying notification. Notifications are annoying. But text messages are okay.
Beautiful.
I get a text message that is certain, let's say 100 letters.
Yes.
Okay. And I see it and I read that one verse of Quran.
From A to Z, right? From Baqarah to from Fatiha to all the way to Nas.
And then you begin. Yeah. And you would just select the verses and you would send them as a text message.
That's beautiful, Shaykh.
Right.
No, so who inspired who? Did I inspire you or did you inspire me? I'm trying to figure this out.
Actually, you inspired the idea when you said people don't read anymore. And yesterday we had a brother named Uthman on where he's taking Islamic texts on a Sharh app and he's taking Islamic texts, putting them line by line.
Yes.
Audio visual in an app.
Yes, beautiful.
And I thought to myself, the technology today is little snippets that come to my phone.
Correct.
You cannot get me to open a book.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. You're right.
All of us have a disease. We all have a disease that if I sit and read a book for 5 minutes, a voice is going to scream in my head that I'm missing out on something on the phone.
Correct. FOMO. Yep.
So we might as well fight that, but also use it at the same time. And we use it at the same time. If I get a text message every day, and all the adhan apps that they do this, but apps notifications are nuisance. I shut all
Correct.
my notifications off.
Correct.
But if I get a
Correct.
text message, I always read it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. No,
And
this is
so that's the idea.
that's amazing. We can make it happen. We can make it
Yeah.
happen. That's something that, mashallah, there's a problem. The solution is real quick, right?
Yeah.
Let's get together and talk about that. I believe it. I was inspired in college when I was giving dawah to someone and I gave them the I think Yusuf Pickdale or someone, I forgot, right?
Yep.
And then MAS Abdul Halim, I was introduced to that, I think, at the end of college.
Yep.
And then Mustafa Khattab, I was introduced to him after, and then I joined his team. But I remember that day walking to the masjid from the middle of campus, and the person I gave the Quran to, he actually left it, I think it was on the top of the trash bin. It wasn't inside,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
it was, and I'm thinking to myself, Khairul Alam, listen, at 20 years old, I need to ask myself, have I finished the Quran from A to Z?
SubhanAllah. Yeah.
And if I didn't, then what makes me expect someone else to do the same thing?
Yep.
I couldn't get past this third page because thou art hast not.
No, I can't do that. I can't do that.
You see, so
I can't read that.
So there's a serious issue, a reason why people. But at the same time, we gotta push. Why don't we have conferences where it's just about reading the Quran in English? Like we should have a
Yeah.
whole conference about that, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we have podcasts or why don't just the English? Like, and what you just said right now is an amazing idea. It's bit by bit. It's bits of the Quran, pieces of the Quran. But people are not going to be able to ignore that. It's the Quran,
Yeah.
and right, it's speaking to them in their language. It's colloquial, just like you and I spoke, without watering it down, right?
That's the benefit
So-
of the Abdul Halim translation.
Yes, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I still do, mashallah.
Yeah.
Right, but alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair. That's a beautiful idea. I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna get famous with it, and then maybe I'll have you on my podcast.
Yeah, textable Quran. That's the name of the thing.
Beautiful.
Right.
Textable, clear Quran, or clear textable, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something like
Right?
that.
If we're gonna use this translation, why not? But it's amazing. I'm with it. I'm with you. Tell me how you need me to serve you. Like,
Inshallah.
Jazakallah
Let's
khair.
do it. All right, everybody.
Jazakallah khair.
Again, Massachusetts. It's September 27th. You guys could drive up there, tour the NBA Hall of Fame, and then you're gonna you can watch the game, meet all the different shiuch, listen to the MyCC talks or the MYCA talks.
Yep.
And then you can, if you're from England right now, if you're from out of state or out of the area, you can also watch it on the MyCA YouTube channel and donate there and watch it and have a good time. And then you come on here probably in midweek of October, where we're going to have Sports Center basically, and we're going to do the top 10 and then the treat of all treats, the not top 10. And we need the background sounds, the little goofy sounds and all that stuff. Yes, in the edit. Exactly. We need all that stuff, the Looney Tune sounds with the highlights. Okay.
Oh, I got. Okay, I see. I see.
Yes.
With the
We need
highlights,
those
I got
Looney
you.
Tune sounds.
We're
Yeah.
gonna, inshallah, we're gonna have people. We have a production company from UK coming, doing pro bono work for us, mashallah.
Amazing,
To do
amazing.
the reels, right?
Amazing.
And so a lot of people, alhamdulillah, walillahi alhamd, it's from Allah. They're stepping up. A lot of people are silent, but you know what? At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you create something so big where even your enemies cannot ignore you. Inshallah.
inshallah.
Well, jazakallah khair. I appreciate this time with you. I hope
pleasure.
and pray that any of the missions and visions that you're involved in, it comes to fruition and materializes in this dunya, in
Ameen,
this life
ameen,
while you're
ameen.
alive. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who are in assistance and help of our brothers and sisters all around the world, especially Philistine.
Ameen.
Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us khair in every single step we take towards goodness and greatness. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every single person who is in mental distress and duress, and every single couple who is in the midst of breaking apart, that they bring and join their hearts together. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to free Palestine. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring aid to Sudan and to Yemen and all the places that we have forgotten. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring peace and free our prisoners in jail who have been convicted, falsely convicted. Ask Allah
Ameen,
subhanahu wa ta'ala to the people that are unknown, that have done so much. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them and to increase them. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept us. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi
الحمد
rabbil alamin.
لله رب العالمين آمين وإياكم وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our treat for the day, and I can't wait, honestly, to see the top 10 and not top 10. I'm going to answer two questions, or one question here. Should we be doing this? We should be focused on the akhirah. So here's the thing. When it comes to da'wah, when you need to focus on akhirah, you need people, correct? You need their attention. and you need to actually pull people in before speaking to them about the akhirah. Life is not just about us worshiping Allah Ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ. All of the messengers would mingle with the people and get their attention first. So we also need to do that, and we recognize that life is it's full. It's not just one subject. And when you have kids and teens, you'll know that, right? You'll know that their attention is in different things. When you need to reach other people, you cannot reach them unless you mirror their interests, as long as it's halal, right? So you have to mirror those interests, and everyone is going to have different interests and be attracted to join a group if that group fulfills that interest. And that's the whole point of having a well-rounded community. It cannot just be people studying, memorizing Quran, and doing the greatest things. These are the greatest things, but they cannot be the only things. And that's why the philosophy here is that whatever Muslims do and come together as a group, we have to be at the front line in supporting and pitching into that. And that's where people will segue to understand what your message is. Okay? And that's the key. If you isolate yourself, you die. I've seen it. I've seen people get so spiritual, get so much into knowledge even, which is the greatest thing. Okay? Dhikr and ilm. Is there anything greater? And they silo themselves away. And guess what happens? They die. The message dies with them. They are not beneficial to anybody. So the idea here is, if you have something great, well, you got to share it. And life has to be well-rounded. And if you live long enough, you're going to see that. And if you don't see that now, then maybe you don't need it now for yourself. You're developing yourself and you want to just focus on one thing. That's good. But keep in the back of your mind, that's not going to be forever. You're going to live regular life with everybody else. As myself right now, got to run, and you have many guests here. Your name, brother? Ahmed, nice to meet you. Your name, brother? Abdullah. Dean. Ahmed, where are you from? California. Ahlan wa sahlan. And then we got Abdul Bari, of course, and we got Suhaib. You came from Dallas? You flew in from Dallas? And you flew in from Atlanta. So we got Dallas, Atlanta, California, Memphis, Tennessee. We got the whole thing. But I have to bounce because you got other obligations. I'm a coach in a soccer team here, right? It's really fun for the players love it, right? They love the sport, and I love the sport too. And I'm the defensive coach, right? And when I got good players, the other team gets frustrated, right? I'm the defensive coach. So I gotta run, everyone. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah.
Kalbe şifa